The attraction of the Southern Ocean is a cold, miserable place. And if you want to take on the toughest challenge there is, that's it.
The waves were breaking, you know, breaking off by the wind. So it was just foam in the water, lots of foam.
I don't do this for disappearing. I love life.
Bonjour à tous, ravi de vous retrouver ici au Sable d'Olonne en Vendée pour vous faire vivre en direct le départ de la Golden Globe Race. Cet événement exceptionnel, un événement mythique que cette Golden Globe Race, même si elle n'est pas forcément très connue. On va en parler, on va tout vous expliquer sur cette course en compagnie notamment de notre...
Somehow, I found myself.
Hi. Well, it's taken just 9 weeks to sign up 24 men and 1 woman from 15 countries to be part of history. We're going to recreate the original Sunday Times Golden Globe race. I'm Don McIntyre and I'm in the Golden Globe.
Most of the events are very commercial and corporate. Dom's just passion.
What's your story, Captain Coconut?
Well, apparently we're here to sail around the world.
Oh, Tapio. What's it like to be here, even without an engine?
It's fantastic. I'm a sailor. I'm not so interested of engines.
What Don's done is he's shifted the focus completely from technology and money back to the individual who's going to be sailing.
What's the objective? Are you in for a cruise, just the adventure, or you want to win?
I'm going to do everything I have to do as good as possible.
There'll be people that'll say, oh, the boats aren't safe because they don't go fast enough. Do you have to spend $1 million to buy a 60-footer that does all this fancy stuff? Does the little guy not go? There's no way.
What do you think about the adventure that is about to leave your father?
I think it's going to be a good experience for him.
Just look at the devastation.
So you strive hard to achieve a rescue with the least impact. It just folds over and that position goes straight into the middle of it.
I can't get the boat to stay pointing downwind on its own. And this is when everything becomes so clear. What is important in life?
But at the end of the day, everyone will have to answer their own question on how much is a human life worth and what's it all about. Is there a hole in the hull?
The boat is the only thing that's left is the hull.
I don't know how to make a prayer. I'm not religious or anything. But please get me through this one, you know.
You're a small person in that big ocean, and you just feel free, very free.
We don't need millions, to do sailboat racing. We don't need all that modern technology to fulfill a dream.
When you say, there was only one winner, well, there was only one winner for people who wanted to come first.
He's put his whole life on the line to make it happen. If anybody's living a dream in this adventure, it's Dom.
Being on Suhaili with my good friend Sir Robin Knox-Johnston, about to start the race, it was surreal, it was a dream. It was as if I was looking down on the boat thinking, this is unbelievable. Look where I am. This is the 50th anniversary of the Golden Globe race. It was the most incredible moment that you could ever imagine.
Sunday Times Golden Globe will be awarded to the first non-stop, single-handed circumnavigator of the world. It really is a voyage for madmen. No fuel, food, water or equipment may be taken on board after the start.
I can remember someone coming up to me and I was getting my boat ready. I was in the Navy at the time. And saying, this Johnny who's thinks he can sail solo non-stop around the world. And I said, we're going to try it. The sort of boat I wanted for a round-the-world voyage would have to be seaworthy and easy to handle. It should also have to be robust.
was in the 70s, you know, when I started to read the books. And then you started to hear about the race, you know, the Golden Globe and Sir Robin and bits and pieces, and you just gobsmacked by this guy that went around.
I did not see how anything can stand up to this sort of continual punishment. Rushing past the howling a lullaby in the reef. If I could get her round to lie with the sea, she might be all right.
And the story of losing his wind vane and nearly sinking, it was just like an epic feat.
I went back on deck and stood watching the sea for a while. Its character was slowly changing.
He'd done something which was incredible, and I wanted to be him.
It was not a done deal that anybody would achieve this. And in fact, you know, out of the 9 entries, only 1 finished.
The Salute, day 312, and Robin Knox-Johnston and Sue Haley have sailed non-stop around the world.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
So I wanted to get out on the ocean. So I started building my first boat when I was 18, and it was a concrete replica of Sue Haley, because already Robin Knox-Johnston had become my hero. In many ways, it's kind of hard to believe that we're actually doing this 50 years later, and Robin's there as fit as a fiddle 50 years later.
Lovely to be back.
No one really knows what's going to happen. The world's never seen anything like it before. And I just want to thank Robin for being such a friend to the race.
Starting in the Northern Hemisphere, sailors must first head south to the Canary Islands to deliver letters and film, then into the South Atlantic, catching the westerly winds beneath the Cape of Good Hope and across the entire Indian Ocean. A second film drop at Hobart, Tasmania, is a brief chance to see humans after months alone. Then back out to sea, deep into the Southern Ocean to clear Cape Horn. The final dash north up the Atlantic Ocean concludes an around-the-world voyage of some 30,000 nautical miles solo, non-stop and unassisted.
There's only about 220 people who've done it, and 600-700 people have been into space now. So you are taking on something that's pretty unusual, and there's a good reason for that. It's tough.
I had this feeling that we would be lucky to get 9 entrants, the same as 50 years before.
And he knows who opens the press release and how many elements they open and so on. He rang me 24 hours later and said, "Don, you're not going to believe this."
We had 20 within 2 weeks. That was the extraordinary thing. And then it just snowballed.
30,000 miles, non-stop, single-handed. And this isn't exactly a state-of-the-art racing yacht.
There's no GPS, there's no radar, there's no electric autopilot.
It's a mental challenge at the end of the day because it's so long.
You're navigating with a sextant. If you want to listen to music, you have to use a cassette tape player.
Hi, my name's Shane Freeman. I'm an Australian and I've never done anything this challenging before.
I was certainly aware of the risk, and the race itself has got safety requirements which are sensible, but they're pretty eye-watering.
Should we need to use a life raft, we take the grab bag with us, we'll take some additional water with us, and then the rest of the safety gear is packed in the life raft.
We needed to demonstrate we could sail with a jury rig. In the event that you lose your mast, I used spinnaker poles.
We had people that wanted to also build a boat from scratch, so we thought, okay, wouldn't it be great to have replicas of Sue Haley? Robin Knox-Johnston's boat, built in teak in India. All of a sudden, we've got one.
A peace and blessing from God Almighty, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, descend upon this boat and upon all who board her.
I think the underlying reason for every competitor is the human tendency to reach out for something that's far bigger than themselves. At least attempt it.
Rather than put my boat on a boat and take it to the start line, I chose sailing the Southern Ocean under Cape Horn from Melbourne. was going to be the best proving ground possible for both myself and the boat. I headed off in December of 2016. I was feeling very well prepared. I'd spent 18 months preparing the boat. You know, on day 70, I heard a very, very loud sound. I could sense the boat was upside down, and then it rapidly righted. I made a decision whether or not I could jury-rig the boat, and if I could jury-rig it, where would I head to? And so I made a decision to call for an evacuation. I've always been fascinated by when is enough enough? When do you give up? And I thought, look, if I was going to find that out in any activity, it'd be the GGR. I found it. God.
The challenges really started to pour in terms of the scope of the event was growing, but we weren't getting any support. So some hard decisions were made, and we remembered our friends in France.
Well, it became very clear that Don couldn't do the race, but it took us quite a bit of time, gentle coercion and saying, you know, there's no way this race will happen unless you're running it.
People always making joke, Don can't live without me. Don sometimes clunky when I do Google Map, tell him turn too slow, but Don can't do a computer, so even little big problem, I feel it's very simple, but he can't do it, so we work with each other.
So talk about to the last days, we've got a hot prospect on a sponsor. I don't know whether he's interested in being a supporting partner or trying to take the title. Right at the last day, how many days to the start? 10 days? How many days to start, Jean?
I don't know.
I've got no idea, but anyway, it's not far away.
I'm very negative. I only see the bad side of the thing. Every time he got a new idea, I pour water on him. I say, I don't like it. I don't like this. I don't like that. It won't work. I'm always saying things like that.
When we moved to France, boy, all hell broke loose because we were coming in unannounced, very short notice to the start, and the FFV there got a bit upset. They must have thought we were backyard bodgy or something, and started to make some very damaging statements about, you know, the event's full of old people and dreamers, and it was just too dangerous, and that had a big impact on the press and really affected our ability to talk credibly to sponsors.
You know, they are the French Sailing Federation, and the Vendée Globe is their baby, and they wanted to have control over it. And Don was absolutely certain that he wasn't going to be racing under world sailing rules, so there was no need to pay thousands and thousands of pounds out just for the privilege of having the FFV's logo on the thing.
We knew it could happen. We'd already sold the house, and you know, we had options there to finance it, but the pressure was intense. Anyway, we just kept moving forward. In the end, we didn't get the big sponsor. Besides our support from the Sable d'Olonne, the total cash sponsors we got to run the race was €35,000. So Jane and I carried the can through the whole of that. But it was exciting at the same time. You know, we used to drive home and think, oh, well, at least we've created something from nothing. So the adrenaline kept it running, and we related to that with every adventure that ever done. You know, that always cost money. And I wasn't sailing in the race, but this was a bigger adventure running the race. So we saw it as that. It was a huge personal adventure. You know, just go for it.
I mean, the French sailing media weren't going to cover it because the FFE had washed their hands of the whole thing. And they were saying, no, it's a small thing. The Vendée Globe is the big race. This is not right. So we had to win them over, and they were won over by the public.
It's sailing on a level that is kind of reachable by more everyday people who are unable to get big sponsorship. In this day and age where everything is about high finance, it brings it down to pure, valuable reasons that are essentially what so many of us go to see and seek at sea in the first place.
Good job.
That's why I think it's just so tremendously beautiful. If I have no wind and to keep me occupied, I can row the boat.
The doctor told me 4 years ago that I only had 10 more months. And so I did marked news. And that's why he started wasting money for cancer, to make cheap medicines, because cancer medicines are really expensive. And he started doing that with rowing for cancer, and he collected 47,000. And now his aim is for sailing for cancer, his aim is 50,000.
All together, big smile. It's all hard, you know, for everyone. We all on our last money. You know, I sold my house to basically to be here, you know. And that's the things that a lot of people don't realize. They think, oh, he's going to do a nice race, and they don't see all the trouble you get to get here, you know.
It's got a bit of an amateur flavour more than a strong commercial flavour, and maybe that's a good thing too. If you look at the original race, what did? They all struggled for sponsors. Nothing's changed. Oh, this is a nice little gift from the fair people of Plymouth. And it's in its little box and whatever. And I shoved it in and it was at that song. It was at that song. And I thought, holy shit, this is good. Things are working out. There you go.
Departure function for the GGR. It was supposed to be just the entrance and their immediate team, but of course it was going to be the GGR send-off, and I'm thinking, crikeys, what are we going to do? We got no money.
Okay, now we'll see who's really determined. There is a new...
They couldn't work out what this bloody Aussie and Chinese person were doing there, trying to run this race with a 1960s cassette tape player playing, what was it,
I had all kind of really unique adventures, you know, pretty much I was able to connect in a very special way with the universe. And this is when everything becomes so clear. You see clearly the important people in your life. So my love, my understanding, everything becomes much stronger. And I'm hoping I can find that peace again, you know.
How many eggs have we got left, Tim? 5, okay. Stack up 5 eggs. Do I really load now? Let me increase the stakes, okay?
The romance that we're seeing here is great. The public love it. Once you get out there, it's a hard, practical job, and it isn't the time for romance. That's gone.
So on start day, July the 1st, the pontoon will be closed to the public. You'll need your correct passes. It'll be a lot of media. It's going to be crazy. That's the last chance you've got to say goodbye.
Мой финальный разговор с родными растянулся на несколько месяцев. Сейчас уже найдено взаимопонимание, и уже не обращаются ко мне с вопросом, может, передумаешь.
I suppose the appropriate time to sort of say I'm pretty impressed. I mean, everyone's coming at it from different angles, and it's a real credit to you all to get this far. We've now got effectively 18 entrants in the second edition of the Golden Globe race, which is pretty amazing.
I don't know how I will feel when I come back, but I do hope that I become an example others to try this event, that it can be done by ordinary people.
I want, Palestinian people to see the Palestinian flag on a noble event, and hopefully to finish, a Palestinian circumnavigating the globe. That would be huge.
I fear, of course, the places where I haven't been before, like Southern Ocean, and I feel fear. Yeah.
C'est un peu plus tard, peut-être, que je me suis rendu compte que je n'aurais jamais eu assez de chocolat et de gâteaux.
Okay, you go down the river approximately 200 metres apart. And there'll be thousands of people on the wall, cheering, they'll be waving, they'll be blowing horns, they'll be doing all sorts of things. It'll be a pretty spooky moment for both the spectators and you.
Things seem to be moving around, and it's kind of like I was almost in a daze, a trance going down.
It felt almost unreal.
I mean, it was packed.
Part of the motivation will also be to know what I want to do next and to share that now with her, without any doubts of, the physicality of this. I'm gonna return and we will do more things.
It was my sixth time around the world. I don't need to prove anything, so I have no stress when I start.
You all come behind Joshua and Suhaili.
This is my second race. My first race that I'm on my own.
I guess the biggest unknown is 9 months alone. And I think everyone will feel that loneliness.
Suhaili will round up to starboard and Joshua will round up to port. They will clear right out to the side here and you can sail through and the race is underway.
It was the most incredible moment that you could ever imagine. I went right back to when I first heard of the race, and when I built my replica of it, all the things that were going through my mind in the minutes leading up to the start gun were just mind-boggling.
If you want a sailing plan that goes out there, you can go. But you must go through between Joshua and Suhaili in the first 5 minutes. Enjoy the ride.
4, 3, 2.
You should be mentally prepared for a race like this. I know that I don't need any preparation because I can very easily slip into that state of solitude. In the dream, I'm awake, but I'm trying to sleep. In that sleep, I need to be in a dream in which I'm in a boat which is stuck in a storm. And if I'm not in the boat, I will not be able to save the boat. Seems like someone has gone to sleep.
Not being a big believer in things like that you can't get your hands on, I saw some things that were pretty unique with the wildlife.
Sure, it's like SeaWorld out here. Couldn't be any better than this, eh? I think there must be about 40 or something up there. Then they're gone. I got no idea where I am at the moment, so somewhere along the Spanish coast.
You try to keep the boat in motion, and it takes, in this case, when you have very light wind, it takes a lot of effort.
So there's a few little teething problems, but there was always going to be that. And radios were a big one. A lot of people were having trouble with radios.
It never worked, even though I had people came around. So I had no communications other than the VHF.
No complaints so far. It is better than the last one I had.
I mean, all points of sail, it's holding course.
A huge sadness filled me. All I wanted to do was talk to the family and see them, and visit them after 3 days.
You know, sometimes your radio skids and whatever can, although they're enjoyable, the danger when they get too much focus, it becomes about that. And I think the fact that you're out of the world is a good thing, and you want to have minimal contact. And as soon as you get too much contact, you're back in the world and you've lost the whole point of why you're out there in the first place.
I decided to sail towards La Coruña, to find a telephone.
लेकिन सेफ्टी के लिए मॉडर्न टेक्नोलॉजी यूज कर सकते हैं. So I met this ship in the North Atlantic, and then something told me that we had more in common than just being from India. So I asked him in my language, Malayaliano, which means, are you from Kerala? And he says, yes. And then we start talking. And then finally, I asked him if he can send a message to my wife. And it's a standard message that I, pass to my wife. It's, I am fine, how are you? And he says, sir, congratulations. And then he says, your wife wants to know if I should continue with the pregnancy or not. Thank you so much for your help. Channel 16.
Okay, 16.
I'm making my favorite something. I'll just show it to you. Can you hear that? Papan!
You're going as fast as you can, and everything is under control. It's such a reward.
I think I'm finally settling into it now. As you can see, we're flying along. I have this sort of obsession with just watching the bow go through the water, and it's just something that never ever gets old.
You feel just as a little piece in the big nature.
Low to the water, so singular. It's sublime. I'd say that the time begins to stand still.
Here's to many more of these.
The sun just up on one side, down on the other, and it becomes just this big blend of pink and blue skies.
Just floating along, there's some nice whales around me up here.
Unbelievable, eh? You kind of naturally start talking about us sailing and what we are doing.
And also you remind yourself that nobody ever sees this.
Two weeks after leaving France and with 1,300 miles under the keel, the first sailors begin arriving at the Canary Islands film drop.
There was so many things that was kind of new for me. Navigating with the sextant was a big thing. When you ask their position to a ship, which we're allowed to, and you find out that you're not that far off. Somehow, when you're by yourself, there's, I think the smile is even bigger.
And we were sort of watching the hits. So, crikey, there's a lot of people watching the videos. We were getting 10, 15,000 people on the live clips as we're going through. And we're thinking, wow, this is cool.
Look after yourself, stay safe. Absolutely.
And we were trying to film for the documentary, take photos, like do live, all that sort of stuff, and there'd be 3 of us and one would have to be driving the boat. We'd always forget something. Poor old Mark Slats came in and we didn't have the audio on for the thing. He got there before us, and it was just a nightmare. There's been a few technical issues, but there's just a few of us. So we're struggling on as best we can. And we just let it run. We just said, well, that's just us. Let's just do it. We were never perfect. I want to get good audio. I want to get the bloody thing over to John Luke. pull the plug out. People started to accept the fact that, yeah, I'm dyslexic and make spelling mistakes and we don't quite get it right all the time, but that's the GGR. It's human and it's family.
You want to hold that one for me? You can talk in French if you like.
Alors, c'était comment, Jean-Luc? C'était comment ta matinée?
Okay.
S'il avait des problèmes de pilote aussi.
So you couldn't go down below to sleep, like you just?
I couldn't relax. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't relax because I needed to see what was going on. It's just in my mind. I couldn't just let it go.
So you're comfortable now with your decision and everything?
Yeah, I've got no choice. There's no decision to make really for me. I'm not going in. I don't want to be dismasted in the Southern Ocean. If I sit there every night listening to it creaking, which it does, I'll just go insane. So there's no way I'm going to do it.
Well, you know, when Antoine arrived, I was a bit surprised because it was a pretty cool boat.
Even if you read 10 times the book, The Long Way, and all these single-handed guys, you know, they don't talk much about being alone. They talk about the sea, the environment, the boats, all these, you know, fancy relationships you can have at sea, but they don't talk about what's going on inside, and that's where you discover that it's a huge, huge challenge.
You know, Antoine was you know, really just coming to terms with what not only lay ahead, but what he was already going through.
Good morning, everyone. Well, this is a sad day for Nabil. He's retired today. He lost his self-steering system and was hand steering last night, and conditions were pretty tough.
The race probably started after the breaking of that gear. My own personal race, you know, of 60 or 70 hours sitting at the wheel.
Well, it's really come on to blow now. I probably should have put that third reef in. Oh.
And as I got the last sock on, I threw up all over my open clothes bags.
I think that's just quintessential GGR. You know, the Atlantic legs we know sort people out, and that's what happened to Nabil. Great guy. Watch this space.
Still in the Canaries, and Antoine has got himself organised, had a bit of a rest, stocked up on a few things, and is about to set off as our first person in the Chichester class. So not in the rankings for the GGR anymore. It'll be a one-stop circumnavigation.
I think it's better to stop now, fix everything, calm down, and go again, you know? That was the deal.
That's it. No huge crowd, no huge fanfare, very personal. He's underway again, and we wish him all the luck in the world.
In 1967, Francis Chichester completed the first one-stop circumnavigation, calling into Sydney on his way around the world. Any GGR sailor can make a single stop and still remain in the race under Chichester class. Sailors who do not depart by the start date can compete in the Carrozzo class, named after Alex Carrozzo, who in the 1968 Golden Globe race departed Cowes by the start date and sat on a mooring completing preparations before departing a week later.
Starting on a different date was part of the rules, touched a bit by Don for the purpose. The deal was leaving 3 weeks after the others.
Interesting, just following on for the theme of what's going on, that's a Beaufort wind vane he's got there, and that's exactly the same as the one that Nabil had. How do you feel about being a Crusoe sailor, the first one we've ever had?
Yeah, that's an honor. Carrozzo told me personally a few days ago that we are first in the class, he said.
Yeah.
Me and him.
Good luck, mate. Sail safe.
Francesco Capelletti in the Carrozzo class trailed the fleet for some 2,200 miles behind the leaders. 1,300 miles ahead of him, Antoine Cousseau in Chichester class was just leaving the Canary Islands, hot on the trail of Istvan Kopar, who was having serious wind vane problems. The middle of the fleet remained grouped together, while the leaders were already showing bold decisions, spread out as they approached the doldrums. Philippe Péchet crossing the equator first, followed closely by Mark Slats all the way out west, and Jean-Luc van den Heede crossing third and opting for a more direct route to the Cape of Good Hope.
Dai arriva. Dai vento arriva, 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 arriva.
The worst is to have not enough wind, I suppose, because it's very hard when you don't have wind and you are racing.
We're supposed to be having northerlies at the moment, but it's anybody's guess where it's coming from.
I get very frustrated when the wind vane could not cope with the sea conditions. And then 2 hours later, wind shifts and the waves drop, and you can have the happiest day in your life. And that's the thing I like about the sea, you know.
You need to go to sleep, you need to cook, you need to do, celestial navigation. Your partner is your self-steering device. Obviously, in the Golden Globe race, autopilot is not allowed. So we went back 50 years, right? And the self-steering device, which is the wind vane, was invented in 1936 or something like that. So it's definitely a permitted item on board. I need to repair these lines too after 1 week. Most of the single-headed sailors had problems with the wind vane. This clutch, it's a toy. For me, it's a kind of professional standard that if you leave the departure port, you have to arrive to your destination.
Of course, it's a little bit challenging because you have to use both your hands. You have to brace yourself.
But the biggest challenge is really in heavy weather. You put your weather gear on, you grab the sextant, you're still not hitting the sextant, you open everything, you climb out, and hook yourself up to a kind of safe position. But at the same time, a good location for the site itself. You need to a kind of balanced situation to have the fragile sextant, because if you hit the mirrors or even the frame, hogy basznád meg a kurva édes anyádat, hogy nyomnád. So this is a kind of difficult process. Shit. Non-believers. So it's a significant part of the challenges in the Golden Globe race.
Did you enjoy doing it with celestial navigation?
Actually, believe or not, that was one of the most enjoyable things.
Ready to collect some water again.
It lakes everywhere. I have never had a really dry boat, but this one is definitely not a dry one.
Spinnaker's still up, mainsail, pushing the boat a little bit to try and get a bit of a ground made up. So I'll do this for another hour or so, then reduce sail a little bit for the night. I'll still keep pushing it, so I'll probably be sleeping up in the cockpit mostly. But it's great. You know, I've never done any long distance solo sailing before. You know, I'd planned on it for a long time, and you know, I'd always wanted to do it, but I was still obviously unsure about how. I wonder will I actually like this. I was pretty sure I would, and you know, it confirmed that I actually do love it. Yeah, it confirmed my suspicions.
The things are going on. I am a lot ahead of everybody. I'm happy with my mast, which is 1.5 meter under the highest limit. I reduced the mast.
I never talked with Jean-Luc, maybe 5 times all around the world, but that was his way of racing, you know? That was his way of doing it, and, you know, we respected that.
First, I had 2 roller furling for the Genoa and the Stessel. If I was 40 years old, I will be like Philippe or Mark. I will not have roller falling, but I am too old to do that now.
The choice of having hand sail is like a manual gearbox. You've got a choice of sails to adapt to the different winds and the different angle to the wind.
Yes, in the beginning I was saying, oh, this is stupid, you know, I should have had furlers. These sails are going in the water all the time when you drop them, you know, and then I got better and better at it, you know, and every time I think, oh, I'm losing 10 minutes, but I started doing it faster and faster and faster.
So when there was light airs, they go a little bit faster than me, but with strong wind, it was okay.
I still would do the same.
Yes, if I would ever do it again, I think I'll still do the same way.
If I had a mast like Mark, I will not be here. The mast will be broken, I'm sure.
Anyone still out there, Robin? I engaged it, I guess, in the spirit of 1968. So I was a bit, I guess, surprised at the competitive nature that the race became.
Even in this race, you can become a kind of employee, where you have good sponsors. I mean, financially, you have the money, then you are a kind of pushed by them.
You know, Philippe made it well known that prior to the start, if it wasn't for sponsors and so on, he probably wouldn't start the race.
We're fine-tuning the self-steering at the present.
His life had changed during the build-up to the start of the race, and that happened to a few entrants where they entered the race years before, and during that time their personal situation changes, their financial situation changes, the pressure builds. We had more than one entrant saying, "Oh crikey, if it wasn't for sponsors, I wouldn't be here," and Philippe was one of those.
I probably won't do it again. It is too hard for the one that I leave behind. I may not choose to do it, so, you know, I gotta be happy with my decision. The one that I leave behind, they haven't chosen.
He was determined to go, you know, when he left. But, you know, once that wind vane went, I think it was all over, and I think he knew it. And we have a very clear definition of the use of a satellite phone, and this wasn't a distress, and it wasn't even emergency purposes. He said, and now I'm going to ring my wife, and I don't care about the consequences. Personally, I think it was a case of the organiser had to kick him out of the race, effectively, but at least he didn't have to make that decision.
The calls, being accused of, you know, this and that, of, you know, that put me, you know, there was nothing there for me anymore. You know, the love was gone. And so I thought, you know, okay, well, let's stop in Cape Town and move on, you know.
I always was worried about going too south too soon. Because when you read the original books, you know, Knox-Johnston split the side of his hull and deck because he's arriving early in the year. You're down there in August, September.
It's a unique situation because the faster you are, the sooner you get to the bad weather.
I also thought there was a lack of understanding of the Agulhas current. And I was frankly afraid of the Agulhas current.
I think the likelihood of help from another sailor was a long shot. The boats are so small, and trying to, you know, have two boats coming together in those sort of seas is...
I have a lot of experience, and I feel I have control. Of course, when you don't have the control, then you get also scared. Ari had quite a small boat and was pushing it hard and was up with the front runners, and I think everyone was giving Ari a lot of respect. The first knockdown I got, then I bent my self-steering gear.
It's not very easy to do repairs in this wind, but we have to do it. I'm going to make that tube shorter.
And when I was working on that, then suddenly the bang.
Hello, it's Golden Globe.
I didn't understand what happened. I understood I was under the water and couldn't breathe. I was thinking, am I sinking? Have I turned over? Is this the end? How will it go? And I was, of course, fearing that something had happened with the rig also. Yeah, it was hard.
He's practiced with the jury rig. He probably thought, you know, he was never going to use it, but now he has to. And he's, right from his first phone call, he's very much in control.
Yeah, it's not easy, it's still some season, but thankfully it has been done before.
He knew exactly what to do. He had the jury rig up in a couple of hours and managed to set sail for home. And it was a real testament to him and his ability and skill.
He wouldn't have done anything foolish in bad weather. So what it meant was, if this can happen to Ari, this can happen to anyone.
Ari is a real able seaman. He was one of the more able seamen in this race. And there was a time I thought maybe this is a little bit irresponsible to be around the Cape of Good Hope in the winter.
Каждое сообщение о неприятностях у соперников радости не вселяло, потому что мы, в общем, не конкуренты, не соперники. У нас один соперник – это океан.
You know you're not in the right time of the year, you're just getting hammered. Maybe we should just stop, you know. I was really thinking that, but, you know, you get your guts together again and then you keep going, you know. You keep going because no one is going to give up.
We have a windy day today, but there is beautiful skies. It's really cold sometimes. And I get little sleep during the night because I'm constantly changing sails and adjusting sails, so I wake up every half an hour. Mess. That's a Southern Ocean mess. Got no sleep. Hail, snow, everything up there, man. Just unbelievable. My imagination just goes wild when I lay in bed and just lay there and do nothing. Then I just have to go outside and do stuff. And change sails and tidy up stuff till I'm so cold and so tired that I can get a little sleep.
The Indian Ocean. Who knew it could be this calm?
My brother did say to me, he was like, if you go for a swim, you just put in your logbook that you've gone for a swim. Because if for whatever reason I didn't come back aboard, then we won't spend the rest of our lives wondering what happened.
Look at my hands.
It's water from my body. And the good thing is, it's warm. It's really warm. You can hold on to it and it feels nice.
My wife got in touch with the ham radio guys in South Africa. And she used to send voice messages to me. I can't reply because I don't have a ham set. So I can't tune ham frequencies, but I can hear what she is saying. And it was a song in my language, so beautiful. And I was just spellbound, you know, sitting silent and listening to this song. When the propagation is very bad, and the spoken voice doesn't come through, the whistle still goes through. And we have two kinds of birds in Finland. Is yes and is no. And the guys at the other end would have a series of structured questions solving a problem. And I would answer them either yes or no by whistling.
More than 1,000 miles ahead of the others. I cannot reach them on the radio. I cannot hear them. I was a little bit lonely.
Almost 2.5 months at sea and nothing really prepared me for this sight.
We were on the radio with the three of us, And Ebeles just comes screaming in between. He said, Gregor, look over your starboard stern, you know. And then he looks outside and he says, yeah, I can see you.
It ended up being myself, Mark, and Abilash all very close together, and that was chance.
There it is.
They were like, this is the most desolate part of the Indian Ocean. And if something were to happen to us, let's pray that it doesn't happen here.
They're braking as well. It's quite dangerous.
There's a gust that just pinned me in the cockpit, and I could barely even lift my arm up. It was that strong. I don't think I've felt wind strength like that before.
So you just get these coming from the side as well, which just screw everything.
I remember looking at one point, looking out over the sea, and it was just white.
Fucking hell, like, huge wave.
I was just kind of almost froze, not in fear. It was almost like, this is unbelievable. This is phenomenal.
I can't get the boat to stay pointing downwind on its own, so I have to basically be out here steering the... Well, so I just had a pretty severe knockdown. Boat was well below the horizontal. I was on yeah, look, coffee on the ceiling.
Where I feel it going over, and then it just kept going and kept going and kept going. And
I was on deck at the time, so luckily I was tied on.
And then I'd look around and there's my mizzen mast hanging over. I was quite surprised. Like, how the hell is that broken?
The mast itself failed. The rigging was all fine. Just look at the devastation.
He'd managed to get everything off over the side. He was doing everything right, you know. He was in control, but you could tell in the tone of his voice, and just listening to the background, you can hear the wind. You can hear everything getting chucked around.
Got some bad news. I got rolled. Main mast is gone now as well. Okay, so you've been rolled, and are you okay?
He was a little bit afraid and looking for a second opinion on what might be the best thing to do to set the boat up.
Will you do me a favour, Don?
Yeah. Oh, I think I just lost you. Only weeks before, we'd done a crisis management exercise in the office, you know, like a training run with all the different people and bits and pieces. And just to make it realistic, I dropped in there, no one sort of knew about, was the idea of another incident. You know, there could be two at the same time. You had this wind shear, this gradient, where we knew it would be blowing from the north, and within minutes, it was going to go 60, 70, and then on the front, it could have gone 70, 80 from the south.
I'm standing here ready to go outside to hand steer for 12 hours. Right now, it's still okay. The sea's not built up yet, but in an hour or two, the sea's going to be high, big.
I could hear it coming, and it came and it hit. And I was like holding the tiller with both my hands, with my legs stuck on the other side, and trying to pull it. And the tiller was bending 5 degrees or so. All the wood was, like bending like this, and the boat still wasn't manageable. So that's when the first knockdown happened, and I was like pushed underwater the first time. And then when the boat straightened, the mizzen had broken.
Yeah, it was just horrendous. It was horrendous. It was unbelievable. We said, hey, let's come on the radio just to see how we're doing. And then no one comes on. No one came on that skid. So I was like, oh my God, this is really bad. It just got dark and it was 60 to 70 knots. And I was just sitting on the couch, ready to go outside at any minute. And then just one wave smashed into the back of the boat so hard and it broke the door. The boat is full of water and there's not a moment I thought, I just thought I'm gonna fight this right to the end and I'm gonna get through. I pumped for a good hour or something like that, but all this time the boat is side onto the waves. I thought it'd be a good time to do a prayer, and so when I got the water out, I went outside. You're looking at mountains of waves, there's 15 to 20 meter waves, and It's dark, you're not really seeing them properly, but you're just seeing the boat just go like 45 degrees and then just going and then... Oh, I just say that I want to get through and I'll be a better person when I get back. I will not throw any plastic away, you know. I'll try and do stuff, simple stuff, you know, but please get me through this one. And then I got another big one while I was hand steering and just got thrown over the side of the boat. The boat got knocked down and it came up very violently and just threw me straight back into the cockpit. I just continued steering again, you know, because that's the only thing I can do. The thing I will always remember about this storm is I would lay down low on the boat, and I'll put a spinnaker on top of me, so if I get rolled, I will not get thrown into the ceiling hard. And there was always this little bit of noise in the boat, like kibbling, the water just going along the hull. And it sounded so peaceful, you know. This was the good part in the storm, you know, and there was the violent guy there outside, but when I listened there, I just listened to these really nice little waves going past the hull. And I only listened to that sound, you know, for a few minutes, and then I go outside and then it's just, you know, I don't know, 100 decibel of noise, you know.
Again, I could hear the wave. I knew that it's going to hit, but this time instead of holding the tiller and trying to steer the boat, I just left it because I knew there was no point. You know, there was a moment when you're pressed underwater, and every moment seems like many minutes. And there was a moment when I told myself that if I opened my arms, I could finish everything right now. You know, that would be the end of it. And then I thought, no. So finally, when the boat straightened, I was hanging on the spreader somewhere with my watch stuck on a shroud. And I couldn't figure out why my hand is stuck and why am I not coming down. So I was like trying to, hold the mast, pull myself up a little bit and maybe release the hand. And then the strap broke. And then I fell with my back on the boom, and then I fell on the deck.
Jane comes running in, and basically with the tweet and the famous words, rolled, dismasted, back injury, can't move.
I realized that the race is coming to an end, and a lot of things are coming to an end. And obviously I was injured. I thought maybe the right thing to do is to cry, and I tried. I just couldn't cry.
But I've got some other bad news to tell you about. Tommy has been dismasted, okay? He's got a severe back injury and he can't move, okay?
Oh, shit. Okay, if there's anything at all you can do, let me know and I'll do my best.
Uku's behind me by, I think it was 400 or 500 miles. He's going to be days and days. Mark's ahead.
So at this stage, I just want to keep you in the loop with what's happening because he's about 100 miles from you and we're not expecting you to be able to do anything at all.
I didn't know Abhilash really before the start of the race. We chatted a bit, but we were chatting every day on the radio. So, we've become, I suppose, quite close, like early sort of internet friends. So I was there thinking to myself, right, I'm definitely going to be the closest boat to him. I kind of got a jury rig set up then as quick as I could, and luckily I still had a spinnaker pole.
With Tommy, we didn't know. After we got that message, we didn't hear from him for about 12 hours. We had to expect the worst. My first fear was that maybe he's got internal bleeding, if that's the case, and there's no one's going to get to him for days.
Okay, just monitor the phones. Okay, so...
But the first Nestor King is not his wife, eh?
That's okay. You can get her. I'll talk to her. Someone's ringing in 09. Oh, that must be the one that's trying to ring.
The first thing about survival in that condition was to get hold of my mind. So that's what I did. I didn't feel any despair or anything. I never thought that I would not be rescued. At the same time, I had prepared myself for the eventuality of not being rescued. So I was like, how do I say, weighing all the options.
So just to let you know, all we've received so far is that one message, okay? But certainly he's a very competent guy, and if he knows what to do, he's got us that message. That takes a bit of brain power to send that message. A lot more work than just turning on an e-perk.
I just didn't want to feel sorry for anything. But I did consider that if I wouldn't be able to walk again, maybe, I'll ask my wife to leave. I didn't want to tie her down to all these responsibilities of taking care of me for the rest of my life.
So at this stage, if he hasn't turned on his e-perk, I'd like to think that Tommy's still in control, right? So there's not a lot for us to do until he gets back to us, but we are doing things, if you know what I mean. We're assuming the worst and planning for the best. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Whenever Don would send me a message, I made it a point to send an immediate reply. But later on, I was surprised to know that, there was this huge gap where there was no communication from me.
We got the next message explaining more, and then from then on in we had confidence, but it was still scary because he had things happening with his body he didn't understand, and so it wasn't over. We didn't know whether he would get out of there alive or not.
He can't even get to his grab bag to get the second satellite phone. They're talking about trying to get a plane overhead. The objective is for a fisheries research vessel that could be there in about 2.5 days.
The Indian Navy wanted to help as much as they could, and they knew if they asked if they could help the Australians probably would have said, no, we're in control, it's okay. So they didn't ask. So we now had the Indian Navy full blown with everything, and we had the Australian government throwing everything they could at it. And so you had a bit of a race to get to Tommy.
I didn't know if he was alive or dead or anything, I didn't know if his boat was sinking. I didn't know what state anything. I didn't know if there was any even water left on board or it was all contaminated.
This fishing boat, do you have an ETA on that?
Okay, they're struggling in weather as well. You're potentially on board 24 hours before they get there.
I hadn't slept in 36, 48 hours at this point.
And you will have limited ability to do anything, but it is valuable if you decide to do it, and there is no pressure on you to do it.
Nearly 3 days trying to get to his position. There's so many risks of leaving my boat and getting onto his boat. It would have been unbelievably reckless, and I knew all this. And I was just praying somebody would get there before I would, because, what could I do? Really, probably nothing.
So that day I heard voices. And there was this very clear voice which, after a knock, said, do you have permission to come inside the boat? I said yes. And that's when I knew that there were people around me.
The Indians were certainly going to go and rescue him, come what may. He was in the Australians' patch, and they wanted to be there too, and in the end it's the French, bless their cotton socks, who picked up both of them.
If there's a rescue there on site, 20 miles away from my position, and I turn it down, and then a week, 2 weeks later, something goes wrong and I have to call for rescue, I'd be deservedly berated.
Well, rescue has arrived. French fishing patrol vessel.
So I left the boat and then went onto the Osiris. And then Tommy was on board, and I was asking him in there, said he's sleeping, so I said I'd leave him be. And then it wasn't too long, and I went down and see him, and he was all smiles as he always is. So yeah, that was nice. I think I called him a bollocks, but yeah, I was great seeing him again anyway.
I got up, I took crutches, and then I took off the flip-flops, and I was walking on wet grass. And that's when one of those pictures was taken. Interestingly, about a week before the accident happened, I had a dream that I was walking on wet grass. And this is exactly how it felt like when I was walking on wet grass. I remembered that dream. So when they were taking a picture, I said, make sure that the French flag is there, and it's seen in the picture.
The principle of how much is a life worth is complicated in itself. So you strive hard to achieve a rescue with the least impact. Each of these entrants in the Golden Globe race have done everything they possibly can to make the effort of the rescuers the least possible and expose them to the least danger. But at the end of the day, everyone will have to answer their own question on how much is a human life worth and what's it all about.
Voilà, c'est la nuit, une nuit de pleine lune. On est là, un petit peu en dessous de Melbourne, là. J'ai tourné ma carte de l'autre côté. Et je suis assez content. Mark Slatt est assez loin derrière. Les deux autres viennent d'être sauvés, heureusement. Je suis content là-dessus parce que...
We needed more weather and we needed more information than we were getting.
If you click on the adjuster button for the wind here and slide it along a bit, and every time I hit it once, it goes 1 hour. This is just a bit of a tutorial on how to do this.
I remember that windy that Mark put on my phone. I put it on the computer and I start looking at it and trying to work it. And
this system's going to come right past him, and the further north he can stay, the better.
Yeah, so she goes on the internet, and then she would record the message.
So I sent that in a voice message to Ian.
VK3 Mike Oscar calling and listening, over.
Uku and Susie asked me to do it. So I was doing every night weather reports.
Susie's got a nice breeze, this fun Tapio, happy as. So I had to then start making statements. Now, this part is not to be recorded and delivered to the entrance because what I'm about to tell you is weather routing, right?
So that's how I learned. So actually Don teach me how to do it.
We do it because we want to inspire people to adventure, because adventure makes good people. Doesn't matter what it is, you know. I'm like this sort of father figure over a bunch of people going out there, and I've got to make sure I look after them as best I can. You know, some people couldn't do it. We can because we've got a lot of these little connections and skills, you know, and that's what we like doing.
Don is a busy man, as you can guess. We don't know how many are going to finish this race. We started with 18 and we're now down to 7.
We are late. We're looking for the car park.
From our eyes, there was a lot of people watching, and that was important because the whole focus was to spread the word all around the world and introduce the story to a whole new generation of young sailors that had never heard of it before, and they say, what's going on, huh? Old boats here, what are you talking about? And it wasn't just sailors that were following it was mums and dads, and it was, you know, so wow, check out the size of that boat. Wow, look at Susie go, you know. Wow, this guy's 73. Wow. No, I might all be asleep.
The shore is always more dangerous than when you are in an open sea, you know. You have more risk with the boats, you have more risk with the rocks, you have more risk than in the middle of nowhere.
The time actually starts from when he crosses this gate. He's got to be at least 90 minutes. Under sailing guidelines, it's still solo non-stop around the world because they don't get off their boats. You can anchor anywhere and have a break as long as it's not in the port. This was in a bay.
So you're still having fun then?
Not to come here, it's very difficult.
Yeah, but it was for Matessia too.
Yes.
What is interesting for him is to do the same thing that the people who made him dream did before.
The self-steering is one of the key of the success, and I think I was very well prepared. I am a lot ahead, and I'm sorry.
No need to be sorry. Everyone has great admiration for such a young man performing so well. He is totally at one with the sea. That's one of the reasons I believe that he was so far in front.
Que le diable nous emporte, on n'a rien trouvé de mieux.
And he liked to be an animator. Really, he likes that. But he likes also to be alone. And he doesn't need anybody to live. I said, he's gone. I want to do something new because I have time, more time. And I learned piano.
I think in this kind of race, you must be sure about yourself. You must believe in you and be sure that you can manage everything by yourself. It is not good to think that perhaps another one can help you.
The storm itself was nearly identical to Gregor and Tommy, but you were in a much better position.
Car lors de ces dépressions-là, ces petites dépressions, j'ai mis à 2 reprises la baume dans l'eau, qui ont dû fragiliser une chape de ridoir qui était du baobab.
It's just when you pick the phone up and answer it, that moment is really special because you're waiting, to find out who it is.
Just confirming that his pumps and everything are working. So his bilge pumps are all working.
Tes pompes d'eau pour pomper l'eau, là, ça marche bien.
And it can be anything, you just don't know.
Lorsque le mât est tombé, donc il est coulé immédiatement et a commencé à tamponner, boum, sous la coque. J'osais espérer que j'avais de bonnes rayures, mais malheureusement, quelques heures après, j'avais de l'eau à l'intérieur et donc j'avais un bon trou dans la coque. Pour moi, c'était inévitable que le bateau allait progressivement couler et qu'une réparation n'aurait jamais tenu. Jamais.
For the race, statistically, it wasn't a good thing, but that's what happens, It can happen to anyone.
I think we are most probably all pursuing our own dreams, and they differ from one sailor to another.
The race was great because without the race, I wouldn't have done it. And so the race was a call to action. But the race in itself doesn't exist. It's just, it's not real.
My primary goal is to get around without stopping and without assistance. And if I come in last place, but I've achieved that, then I'll be happy.
Life in the Golden Globe race is all about drinking cups of tea, as far as I'm concerned. I was reluctant to conserve water to the degree that probably I should have. I actually thought, well, look, I'll catch water later on.
Visibility drops down to 100 or 200 meters in this downpour.
I was really struggling to get 100 miles a day. 80 miles a day was all I was doing. And so I sort of shoved my head over the side. When I saw the barnacles, then I gave up on the water because I thought, am I going to drag these barnacles halfway around the world? No.
There were big bundles of them. They were growing on top of each other. It hurt my soul, and I suffered, and I still suffer. But I like to claim that I kept on racing anyway.
Unbelievable the power that was in that wave. It just shut at the door. And then you look at the logbook, like 16 days of easterly winds from Cape Good Hope. 16 days, it's... And, you really want to do as good as possible and get close to Jean-Luc, that's my whole plan, And every time it's just, I get stopped every time, again and again and again.
When you signed on for the race, you must have had an opinion of what was going to happen.
What I wanted to do is to see southern ocean waves, huge waves, and I did, and a lot of them.
Do you want the bad news now? You have on the bottom of the boat growth that long. It could even be 1 knot. I'm not sure whether you're a water person.
I think actually getting here to Hobart feels like quite a milestone, to be honest.
So steering through the big storm, how did you stay mentally strong?
I was actually so focused on the waves and keeping the boat downwave that not that much went through my brain. I did think of my mum though.
I am recalling my relationships, the important people in my life, my friends, my relatives. They come back. Unfortunately, a lot of them is already on the other side, but they come back with episodes of our life, what we spent together, and it's unbelievable. I am with them. Thanks to this isolation. Yeah, this is one of the benefits of the of the race. You are able to reconnect with these people.
Даже в сильный ветер она показывала 4 узла, а потом ближе к Австралии я больше 2,5 узлов уже не мог. Я неделю обдумывал.
Well, makes sense to go back to work now while I've got a job to go back to. I can pay a few bills. I've had a bit of learning, and I can work out what I want to do next.
Вот говорил с ребятами, с другими участниками, что, мол, все, на этом достаточно. Но я полагаю, что где-то полгода они полежат на диване, и сердечко опять застучит, и опять позовет их в море.
It's a little bit concerned for me because they start dropping out and I worry till the end, is there anybody left?
And we'll put some grids on here as well, I think, so we can see relative positions. Here's the 40th parallel here. They still want to try and get down. I'm hoping like crazy they get down here to the 40th parallel and then they're right.
If I wanted to go to the Cap Horn, I will be exactly at 90 degrees of the wind with the waves coming right on the boat. If I had to do that again, I will go more downwind and I will not capsize.
I've never, ever heard of that bolt holding the lowers ripping down through a mast section.
So I wake up and I saw my mast like a spaghetti. And I say, well, I'm going to Chile, I cannot go more.
He called me to say, I want to learn to you myself that I stopped the race. He said, well, I didn't succeed, that's all.
It would be fantastic if you sail home.
It shattered a lot of people's feelings. You can rejoin the event as a Chichester sailor, but you're not in the running for the rankings of the GGR. So right now, Mark Slats is leading the GGR.
He certainly wouldn't have slowed up.
He didn't sleep for 2 or 3 days, just to go faster and faster and faster.
My hands are like leather. I can just let ropes slide through my hand and they don't get burned. It's unbelievable.
Obviously, he didn't really want to pull out of the race and drop down the class. And after a couple of days, he'd worked out, having looked at it, that he thought he could do something to fix it. I mean, he bent up the mast 8 times and fixed up a jury rig on his mast.
Yes. I find a little shackle to reinforce.
Yes.
I say, well, perhaps I have 50% of chance to arrive.
Okay, d'accord. That's very exciting news. Now, what I need to tell you is that we will probably have to give you an 18-hour time penalty for using the satellite phone. Good luck, and Saturday morning we fly back to Les Sables d'Olonne.
It's going to change a few things. Yes, he knows there is a higher risk of losing the mast now, but, as in John Luke's word, I am ready, I have my jury rig ready to go, I've practiced with it. So from an organised perspective there, if anyone ever says this is ridiculous, he's being reckless, I'd just say, sorry, he's not. He's being a real seaman, you know, so he hasn't given up, that's the bottom line.
Problem was, he couldn't sail so fast. He couldn't put the same strain on the mast as he had before. You know, in the first week after he damaged his mast, slats took 500 miles out of him. And it was always a question, had he built up a big enough lead? Was 2,000 miles enough?
So if you said 10 miles a day, 90 days at 10 miles, that's 900, you can afford to lose 20 miles a day, so it's only 1 knot. So if Mark Slats can sail 1 knot faster than him, he'll catch him, and that's entirely likely. But it'll make life interesting, that's for sure.
When you pass Cap Horn, it seems in your mind that the race is finished, but it is far to be finished. To go up the Atlantic is very, very, very long. You are 56 south, and you must go up 47 north.
It was one of those storms that everything was perfect. It was on the edge of going wrong, but it all went right.
I think we all thought she'll end up third and on the podium. It was looking that way at that time.
Yeah, she's probably in 70 knots at the moment. Sea state's probably about 8-9 metres, and the wind direction is changing right where she activated her EPIRB by a little bit.
Don't come in.
Well, we rowed and I threw across the cabin, and I think I was knocked out for a moment or two.
She was the golden girl of the race, in a way.
Can I confirm the life raft and all your equipment is okay?
The boat inside and out is destroyed. I can't make a jury rig. The only thing that's left is a hull.
If you asked me if I would do this again, now knowing what it's like, I would say yes in a heartbeat. But as I said to the Chilean Navy captain who brought me ashore from Tianfu, I created so much work for everyone involved in the rescue, to which he responded, of course you must do it again.
It really could have turned a lot of people off the GGR, but the reaction was generally positive. I was quite, once again, impressed and in awe at Susie. You know, she's quite a special lady.
I used to half an empty person, but now I'm learning to accept when you do things go wrong, and then you just try to fix that. Don't making joke now, I'm a half full person.
And then it started to be a beat to the wind, indeed, you know, and that beating just never stopped.
I think when he was about 12 years of age, he went on his bicycle to a big town where there's a big port, and he took with him his fishing rod and his geography book.
He tried to fish, but he's not a very good fisherman.
A little squid on the deck. And just trying to go north and go north and go north, it's boring. After I was obliged to tack and to go east. During that time, Mark, he has better wind and he catch me a lot of miles.
The French thought we were supporting the Dutch, and the Dutch thought we were supporting the French. And if both parties are unhappy, then you've done the right thing.
And I never got his position. I had never had any idea where he was. We're not allowed to get each other's position. But Jean-Luc was doing it a little bit different. He was still getting my position, but they would say he's at 180 degrees at 120 miles.
I was doing 40 miles, he was doing 140, so...
And then I was just extremely lucky that he ran into a quiet patch.
And he sits there for nearly 3 days.
You can do nothing. And I knew that Biscay in January, you can have very, very rough weather, like in Cap Horn. And we had.
I'm up in the mast, and we're in 35 knots.
And I really learned my boat. She's one tough little boat, eh? It's just amazing.
There's going to be some bad weather coming.
And Mark Slatch is just bang, bang, bang.
Pushing the boat hard.
When it gets really rough, I just sit on deck and look at the waves, and I love sitting up here and watching these waves, and I just sit there and just think, you know, I'm really getting value for my money, you know, this is really great, I love it.
Oh yeah, I'd rather have him stay home and, you know, have a wife or kids. Every mother would like that.
I'm proud of him for his capacity to live without any comfort and with a lot of things that people don't like.
I'm being his mother, I like to have him near me and that I can see him every day. But that's not like Mark. And this is what Mark likes. So he has to go for it. You have to live your own life.
I think many people been inspired by the race. And I think that's what is an achievement already, so we're very happy. And I think we make some history. Us, all of us, yes.
There's still a big sea running from the previous gale, but the wind was slacking off, so his spinnaker was flapping a bit. He was looking extremely calm, very collected, and of course he was surrounded by a huge flotilla of boats that just grew and grew as he got closer to the finish line.
That's it. Oh, now we can finally say he's actually won the Golden Globe race. We have a winner 50 years on, and here's Sir Robin. What do you reckon?
Well, there goes my record.
He resists to all things which are against him. That's the lesson a lot of people takes on his example.
It was just very simple, we did it. Jean-Luc did it, but so did we. It was cool.
It was the end of the story, and I was very, very, very happy. The Golden Globe is just a game where you try to go around the world without stop. You arrive to compete and to finish the game, or you don't arrive, and that's it.
We didn't think everyone competed at all. It's too big a challenge. But the ones who do compete it, well, every one of them who comes back into the Saab, the finish of the race is a winner.
I was a little bit closer to the finish for 4 hours, but he was still a bit more to the north than me. So, you know, that's where the race ended.
I lived for those months, 7 months. It looks like I lived for it, you know what I mean? I look up the tracker updates, I'm so busy with it. I have to be there in February when Mark is there. I don't have time to think about my sickness. I just have to, I want to be here.
I refer to John F. Kennedy's speech at the 1963 America's Cup, 5 years before the original Golden Globe race. He reminded of the interesting fact that the salt content of human blood equals the salt content of ocean water here.
I really don't know why it is that all of us are so committed to the sea, except I think it's because we all came from the sea. And it is an interesting biological fact that all of us have in our veins the exact same percentage of salt in our blood that exists from the ocean. And therefore, we have salt in our blood, in our sweat, in our tears. We are tied to the ocean. And when we go back to the sea, whether it is to sail or to watch it, we are going back from whence we came.
It's quiet, eh? So all of a sudden it's quiet.
He couldn't see me, but I could see him, and he was waving, and that's a sight I won't forget.
It all just went a little bit past me, you know. I just wanted to see my mother, and
I never thought I was going to see him again.
I said, it's all going to be good now, and I'm going to be back, and hey, we're going to start new adventures now, you know. And you finish one and you start the next adventure, you know. And I'm all happy and I'm all ready, and I'm already started with it, you know. And I have a whole lineup for the next 10 years, you know. So I'm going to be busy, and it's just going to be one thing after the other.
I hope he lives his life that way he wants to live it. But I also want him to find rest. And I think everybody likes to wish that for their son.
Wow. What is he trying to do?
Nice to be here.
It was kind of a floating reef. At the worst, it was a drifting reef.
And of course, the finish is the most gorgeous thing. And then you get the chance to hug your wife. After 8 months and 21 days, you know, the first shower, that was really, really something special.
I had to accept it, and it didn't spoil the second race, the race against the ocean. Instead of 3, we now have 5 of them doing their job of piloting very diligently. The closer I got, the color of the water changed and the birds changed. Crossing the finish line and finishing up my last bit of the Finnish yellow together with my family, and that was certainly a big emotional moment. And I have to say that I was proud at that time. And that was kind of the start of a big celebration.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would, to be honest. I thought I'd be a lot more miserable at the time.
De Soulaili, le bateau sur lequel Sir Robin Knox-Johnston a bouclé.
Bone grafting and spinal fusion.
The present for the baby! Tous les enfants des salles qui vont naître.
But the good thing is that all my previous backaches have been sorted out. I don't have them anymore.
I am happy to forget bad memories, and there were plenty. But I didn't expect this kind of really fast closure, you know. It's interesting that almost losing it.